One, two, one, two. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Thing About Turning 40 podcast. This is where I'll be sharing with you stories that have happened between 0 and 40 and how they impacted me, how they changed me, and what I learned from those stories. And the plan is that I'm gonna call in women who are in their mid 30s, late 30s, early 40s, late 40s, mid 40s, to come and share how the journey between 0 and 40 has changed them, the lessons they've learned, and all that. Anyway, let's get into today's episode. Today, we are talking about how I went to 5 high schools. Yes, 5 high schools. I mean, that is like a high school for each grade, right? Since we go to like 5 high school grades, grade 8 till grade 12, that's like a high school for each grade. So that's like crazy, right? But yeah, I went to 5 high schools. Anyway, let's just start from primary school. I went to a primary school called King School. It was one of the best primary schools at the time. I mean, if you went there, it was a thing. You know what I'm saying? And me ending up there was something of a fairy tale. Anyway, this school was at ASM, African Schools of Missions, Africa School of Missions, I think. Guys, it's been a while. It's a Bible college, and it was like a huge Bible college in the bushes. It was just perfect. It was perfect. And they had this huge chapel that they turned into a school. So it was like nicely divided into a proper school. And what happened is I used to go to like a local school, stayed with my mom, but my brother lived with my aunt and went to the school. And so because you know how private schools are, they like to think, they like to be different. So they closed, their calendar, their school calendar was a bit different from like public schools. And so we had closed and I visited my brother. I wanted to see my brother because, I was like, I need to see him. So I visited, and when we were fetching them from school, the teachers see me and they're like, oh, who's this? And they're like, oh, it's whoever's sister. And they're like, oh, so why isn't she at school? And then they explained that it was school holidays. And they're like, no, let her come, and just because I'm pretty sure she gets bored at home, let her come and just play around, They gave me a uniform, by the way, so that I didn't look odd. They took something from like the lost and found and gave me the uniform, and I started going to school with them, which was so cool for me, I was from like the township school and now I'm in this prestigious private school, right? So yeah, when I got there, they gave me tests and all of that, and I aced them. Guys, I used to be a bit of a genius. I don't know what happened. I really don't know what happened, but I was a bit of a genius when I was younger. I did say that I started reading at 4, So they're like, no, I aced those tests, but English, I didn't know English, but I knew how to write English, didn't understand it. Like, I don't know how to explain it to you. Like, as I said, I read, so I kind of like knew how to put things together. I knew how to spell things, but I didn't really understand it. I don't even know how to explain that to you. But, at the end of the day, they were like, nope, you have to be a student in the school. So they gave me forms, and they said to me, tell your mother and father to fill these in and bring them back. Okay, and I'm like, okay. I take those things. I'm like, but I really don't understand what they said. But I memorized every word they said. So as soon as I left, I ran because I had like a little shoe box that I kept my things in, I went to the shoebox, took my pencil, and I wrote on the thing, and I was like, tell your mother and father to fill this in and bring it back. And as soon as my aunt fetched us, I read that thing to her, and I was like, tell your mother and father to, my father had passed away 4 years prior. 4 years prior, so I wrote the whole thing there. But yeah, from there on, they just let me go anyway. I was kind of like hijacked. So I say it's a fairy tale because I was at the township school that I was at. It was just a disaster. I was struggling there, not academically, I was excelling. But I had like fine. I don't know if they call it fine motor issues. Is it fine motor? What is it fine? I'm not sure. But yeah, I struggled with my handwriting. My fingers weren't really so I struggled with my handwriting. And so, I mean, I would get marked wrong for things that were right. And I would get shouted at because of that. And I remember like my peers, like in different classes, because you'd have like a grade, let's say grade 1A, B, like my peers that were getting the same kind of marks as I was getting, like grade marks, were being promoted and I wasn't, which was like pretty weird for me. And as a child, you don't understand because here you are getting the same kind of marks, they are getting promoted to the next grades, and I wasn't being promoted. It was really, really crazy for me. And I remember my teacher at the time was advocating for me to get promoted to the next grade because they thought, she knows everything here. She's bored. Promote her. But I was never really promoted. And there was then this one teacher who deemed or who decided that my mom was not raising me right and was making me an egg. And then she appointed herself as the person who was going to correct everything, right? And so she was like hitting me. Like, you know what? She would say, whoever, like, your mommy's making you an egg there at home. Your mommy, I can even, like, she was saying it in a different language. I can even hear the squeakiness of her voice. I was probably like 6, like just 2 years, like, oh my goodness, I was 6 years old, and I can like kind of still hear her voice. That's how traumatizing this was for me. And she used to beat me up for absolutely nothing because I was excelling, as I said. Yes, my handwriting was a mess, but it wasn't my fault. I needed a bit of therapy, or a whole lot of therapy, And so being abducted into my fairy tale, I felt like Cinderella. I felt like Cinderella putting my slipper on and my prince whisking me, because all of a sudden I was in the school where I felt seen. Because when I got there, obviously I was 8 years old, and they put me in grade 1 because most of the kids my age and kids that were from like the township schools, they would put them in like the first grade if you were like 8 or whatever. And I remember when I got there, they were like, nope, you can't stay in grade 1, we are going to promote you. So they promoted me from grade 1 to like grade 2. And I got to grade 2 and they were like, nope, you are doing great, we're going to promote you to like standard 1. It was not grade 3. So from grade 2 it was like standard 1. But when I got there, they actually put me back to like a smaller, because they were like, no, because the English, as I said, was terrible. So I had to go back to like grade 2 again, because I needed to kind of like learn English, basically. But I felt seen, here I was, they saw my genius and they were promoting me, and they got me an occupational therapist who used to come to the school. Obviously my mom paid for it, but she would come to the school and give me therapy so that my handwriting could improve, and all my whatever skills could improve. So I felt seen, and so that was like a whole fairy tale for me. Great. I give you this whole big story because there's a lot I'd like to say about it, but if we're gonna talk about schooling years, those were my favorites. The years that I spent at King's School, especially because we ended up moving from that Bible college into some, let's not even talk about it, honey. But those years were my favorite years, because I felt seen within a school. My genius was seen. I still have all I think my mom, I hope she does. I think she still has all the trophies and all the things that I got, and because I felt seen there. But anyway, I got time to move to a high school. Sheesh. So I'm from like Dwarsloop, Bushbuckridge, which is like somewhere in the Bundus, if I may say. Love it. But very far away from the high school that everybody went to, which was called Local High School. And, as you know, with government schools, you need to be like part of a feeder school in order to like qualify, right? You need to be part of a feeder school. And I wasn't in a feeder school, I was in a private school. And now we didn't have private schools that were affordable. Like when I say affordable, like hey, and then the other private school that they had that was like really good was like super duper expensive. And so all the kids when they left the King school, they went to Lowfield High or that kind of a school, and I couldn't go in. Most of my friends were able to get into these schools, and I wasn't able to go in because I didn't like have the address. I didn't have friends close by. We didn't have family friends that could sign me into the school. And so I ended up at a school called Nelspruit Private College. High school number one. Now note that this is high school number one. Nelspruit Private College. And I get there and our English teacher is a retired doctor. A retired doctor comes and he teaches us, I am here, you are there. Now you can imagine, it's like he's teaching like foreign students who have never ever heard an English word in their entire life. And for me it was crazy because the primary school that I came from, when we went to like I remember going to a trip to like a game like to Skukuza, like the Kruger National Park, right? And we had like a thick form. Like it was not like we are there to relax. The entire week we had this huge form that we had to fill in. We had to like figure out animals and hey, it was like, and it was for marks, and now I get into a school where it's a high school, but I'm being taught I am here, you are there. I was like so stressed out. I used to cry to my mom like, I cannot be here. What kind of English is this? We're doing complex sentences in grade 4, grade 5, and now I'm in grade 8 and we are being taught I am here, you are there. I cannot be here. I cried every single day. And I remember one particular moment where I was so traumatized. They said it was a sports day. I was like a star netball player in primary school, and they didn't have sports. We went there and it was the whole wheelbarrow thing. When you're like holding someone wheelbarrow and putting like an egg on a spoon and running. I mean, this was just crazy for me, right? And then the sports day is over. We're going home, and then we go into and it wasn't even like the school fields. We had to go to the what you call it, the public, the public fields, Anyway, we're going home, we go to the toilets, and then this young lady who's like 15 or 16, she looked like, she was a year or two older than me, because she was a grade above me, if I'm not mistaken. She goes to like the sink. We're in like the toilet, we're waiting for each other, like I'm waiting for my turn to go into the toilet, and she goes to the sink, she whips out her boob. Oh, sorry. She whips out her boob. She starts squeezing, and I see this liquid come out. Oh my goodness. And I know this was very, very, very ignorant of me, but like I'm the last born at home, so I've never seen like a pregnant woman, so I don't even know what happens with pregnant people. She squeezed it out. I'm like, what is this? This is crazy. This is disgusting. Obviously, please do not judge me. I was 14 years old. I had never seen a breastfeeding mama. I didn't know what was going on, and obviously I didn't think a 15, 16-year-old would be squeezing liquid gold out of their boobies. I got home and I was like, I don't know, like this little girl just pulled out, and they're like, no man, it's just milk. They're like, it's just milk. But obviously it was a culture shock for me. But the education situation there was not really working out for me, and so I had to move from one high school to another. Luckily my mom has this family friend, he lived in Graskop, and so he was able to he was able to give us his address, and I got signed into a school, and I'll be forever grateful for that because I got to go into a public school. So this is high school number 2, Hoërskool Sybrand van Niekerk. Now I get to Hoërskool Sybrand van Niekerk, and it's an Afrikaans school. It's in 1998. Okay, the time is 1998, 4 years into freedom. So this class that I was in, that was the first English class. Every other class, it's Afrikaans, because it is Hoërskool Sybrand van Niekerk. So we were the first English class in the school. We get there and we learn and whatever. And just, they decide, because they were forced by the government, the school decides right in the middle of that, they are not going to. So after the first term, into the second term, they decide, nope, we're not going to do this. So we're going to dissolve all the kids into the different classes. And so back in the day, they used to, like in government schools, they used to have like A class, B class, C class. A class would have the, like, this is so wrong. A class had all the people who were performing the worst. The B class had like the average kids, and the C class had the clever kids. Like, I find this so wrong. Honestly, I find it wrong. I really do. I find it wrong. And not because I was in the A class, I was in the C class. But I still find it wrong. So they looked at our reports and they just dissolved us into all the Afrikaans classes. And so we would learn in Afrikaans and write our exams in English. Like, how crazy. But I think the biggest reason, so that was reason number one. Like, I went to Wiskunde, but wrote mathematics. I went to I've Wetenskap. I've even forgot all of this stuff. I mean, there was Wiskunde, Wetenskap, a whole lot. Dirk, I forgot. I will swear. You know, yeah, and also I was very naughty, and I used to have like like chest issues, like asthma issues as a child, and I got naughty, and because they were treating us terribly, because as I said, Afrikaans school, black children, I got naughty. We flooded the hostel, my friend and I. We literally we lived in the third floor, and we flooded it, and the entire place was flooded. And as a punishment, they made us clean the whole entire thing, but we had to every day when the other kids were playing. And they said this was from until the end of the year. For doing that, we had to run up and down the stairs. And so for a kid that had chest issues, doesn't matter. I was an athlete, yes, but I was not like that heavy. I was like 100-meter kind of a person. More than that would hurt my chest. And so my mom was like, this can't be. My child will die running up and down the stairs, because this was an everyday thing. Up and down, like 4 floors, like up and down for like hours every single day. And so I had to move to high school number 3, which was in Polokwane. And that was PEPS. I had already written like an entrance exam there, because my mom could see that I wasn't going to go into a public school. So I had written an entrance exam. So they literally just took me because I had already passed it. That's where my life literally started falling apart. Because can you imagine doing 3 high schools? This is still grade 8, by the way. 3 high schools in the same year. And the other one, you being taught, I am here, you are there. You move to another one, and it's you learning Wetenskap and writing, Wiskunde, and then writing maths. You're learning in Afrikaans, and then bam, you go into an IEB school, which is another whole ball game. I mean, I went from being the highest performing student to bottom of the barrel. The people who know me, so I was there for 3 years though. I stayed for 3 years, but those 3 years I was literally floating around. I didn't know what I was doing. I got so depressed. I started having a whole lot of panic attacks. But those panic attacks were not seen as panic attacks. They were seen as asthma attacks, I think. Yeah. And so it wasn't really seen as panic attacks. It was just asthma attacks, but I think one doctor did see, and they gave me antidepressants at 16, guys, 15, 16, and I remember just drinking a whole lot of those panic thingies, and it looked like, no, this girl is trying to do stuff to herself, and it wasn't. I was just lost, and there was a whole lot of like attention seeking. Like, I was crying out for help, and sheesh, it was hectic for me, and I don't think the effects of me moving around so much were seen. My mental health started being shaky there. The foundations that started shaking my mental health started there at school number 3. There were teachers there that. There was one teacher I remember, Mrs. Bezuidenhout, I think. I feel like she hated me, or maybe I hated her, because I felt like I wanted to slash her tires. I'm sorry, I'm like a very peaceful person. But she once told me, we were in a hall and writing exams, and and she told me that I would never amount a Prudence. I mean, that's the name I used then. prudence. Prudence, you know, you will never amount to anything. Yeah, those years were really pretty tough, and my mental health started shaking. And I think sometimes these asthma attacks, or what you call it, um, anxiety attacks, were seen as attention seeking, I think, you know. But anyway, by the end of grade 10, I then had to move because it was just not working out. Now, can you imagine? I'm not making friends in all of these places. Yes, I get there, I make friends. Sorry, I am making friends, but then once I get used to a place, I move to another. Once I get used to a place, I move to another. And so, if there's one thing that I will start with, oh, actually, it was the mental health, firstly. And secondly, it was the friendship things. I don't have friends. People would have friends from like, I grew up with this person and everything else. For me, I was that nomad. I was a high school nomad. I moved from one high school to another, and excuse me, I wasn't able to make good friends. So yeah, like I sometimes envy people. Like even now on social media, I see the people that I went to school with. I see them interacting in a way that I can't be part of it, because there are people that were together maybe from like grade 1 to like grade 12, or grade 8 to like grade 12. For me, I bounced around so much that I don't have those kind of meaningful friendships. I think I love to banter a lot with the people that I like, or I think are my friends. And I tried to banter with one of my high school friends, and it wasn't well received. It wasn't well received, and I was like, yeah, you know, go back to your shell, Tistelani. Because that was me trying to reach out. I'm like, I just want to be friends with people. And I threw some banter around, which was like good banter, not even it was not even offensive banter, maybe offensive to me if you would put it that way, but it wasn't well received, and it kind of like hurt my feelings. But it was like, let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Dang it. Let it go. So my fourth high school, yes, we were at high school number 4. High school number 4 was at St. Mark's. This isn't Jane First. Jane First. My brother was at the school. So now you can imagine how my mental health is. It's a mess, a whole entire mess. And so every now and then I get those attacks, which were anxiety attacks. But nobody really saw that it was anxiety attacks. Everybody just assumed it's her chest issues. It must be asthma, or it's just attention-seeking ways. Anyway, I was there, and my brother was just doing matric at the school, and you know, all of my attacks that I had. He would be the one to come and pick me up and take me to like that, because it was like a boarding school. So he would come pick me up. They would call him from a class, come pick me up, take me to my bed and all of that. And you know, the thing was, Norman, he's in matric, I'm in grade 11. He's gonna get disturbed and stuff. And so halfway grade 11, I had to move to high school number 5, which is Masana High School. Masana High School, township school, where my mom taught. So now can you imagine, this is a girl who's from an IEP school to like Masana, which is now a culture shock again, because here we are, everything is different, the teachers are different, the way the teachers speak to the kids are different. First of all, I get there and I'm like, I'm this cool person and everything else, and the teachers call me to the office and they're like, girl, look, this is not your fancy schools, this is not where English is spoken and all of that. You need to like change. Basically, they said I needed to change who I was and just fit in. That this was not, I needed to change. They just straight up told me that I needed to change who I was to fit in, which was so weird. And I have shared this on my YouTube channel before, that I'm grateful for my aunt who said to me, don't change. Don't ever change. Stay who you are. You don't have to fit in. You don't have to do anything. Stay who you are. I mean, that was also like another roller coaster where I got there and I even introduced, because all our lives, like when you're at school, all our lives we were waiting for the matric ball, and so they didn't even do that at the school at the time. And I introduced the thing and I'm like, oh, let guys, let's have a matric dance. And everyone was like, yeah, let's do it. Didn't the teachers call the other kids aside and they're like, oh, she's just bluffing you guys. This is not a white school or wherever she comes from. You don't do matric dances. Don't do it. Don't do it. And they ended up saying, yeah, we don't want it. We don't want it. And they went for some trip, which I refused to go to. I was like, no, I'm not going to go because I'd already even gotten a dress, you know? And so I didn't even go to the trip. It was just it was sad for me because, I was just seen as that girl that comes from um, fancy schools. And so, imali pelile. Vibes, imali pelile, no more money. So, and, I will forever be grateful to my mom for doing that for me. Because even if they didn't understand that I was having panic attacks and everything else, I needed my mom. And all of a sudden, I was in my mom's house. I was eating my mom's food. I was getting my mom's hugs. And my mom, every month end when she gets paid, I was in that car and we were going and I was buying my nice clothes from Mr. Price. And I was what's it? I was buying Elle magazines. I've always just been so obsessed with fashion, and so I used to buy Elle magazines, and I was just getting that mummy's love. I needed that, and I somehow got back to myself because I actually ended up moving from being that bottom of the barrel student to actually getting I didn't get the A's that I was initially supposed to get, but I got a couple of B's. It's not so bad, right? It's not so bad. I got myself a couple of B's. Um, so yeah, that was high school number 5, Masana High School. So what is it? The biggest lessons that I've learned from this is that therapy is important. Therapy, when some big changes that shake your life, you need to do therapy. You need to speak to people, but I think most importantly, you need to speak to therapists. You need to speak to therapists. When it comes to my children, my mom made the best choices for us. And that's why today I'm able to make the best choices for my kids too. Sometimes it looks crazy to the next person when you make a certain decision, like, why would you do that? Why don't you do this instead? But you look at your situation and what your child has gone through. And I think my mom realized that, you know what, this is better. My child is next to me. And because I was next to her, I was able to pass matric. And so today, I make those kind of decisions for my kids as well. I look at the things, oh man, like I look at all the situations that we've been through and all the hoops my kids had to jump and all the different things and situations that have shaken them. There was a time where I started shouting at one of my kids so much, and I was on her case. And then I sat down and I was like, no man, this kid has seen me go through this, has seen me go through that, and all of these things affected her as well. And so I need to have compassion, because I just remembered that because I went through a whole lot from moving from one place to another as a teenager, it really changed me so much. And so I needed to have that compassion with my child as well, I don't so today, when I see my kids suffering or struggling with something, I sit back and I look at the things and the hoops they had to jump through, whether they jump through them because of a situation that has happened in our lives as a family, or they had to jump through those hoops because of what was happening within their lives. Whatever it is, I first look at that before I start judging. And I also just am always very with mental health, like I speak a lot about it, and I'm very, very conscious. And with everybody's mental health around me, I always want to know that people are okay, because I know how it can start then. For me, it started then. By the time I was in film school, I was a total mess. When I finished, I didn't even know what I was doing. My final year in music in film school was like, yo, why am I even here? Like, I didn't understand. It was a lot. I cut my hair, so every time, like, I cut my hair. I had this huge afro, like you cannot believe. It was beautiful, like nothing you've seen on me before. It was beautiful. I remember by the end of that year, 2005, I shaved it all off because I was like, I just don't know. But from there, I think I started moving into doing things that I loved and trying to kind of like heal myself. But it's only now that I'm finding healing. And so, sheesh, it just taught me that every life changing thing that happens, if it's that huge, I think it's best to seek for therapy. And secondly, I don't just shout at my kids in jail, you know. Um, every little thing that they do, whether it's low marks and struggling in school, and I first have to look at the circumstances and what brought us there before I start shouting. I start healing that first. We start heal that first, and then we can heal the non-performance. You know what I'm saying? And also, with friendships, um, yeah, I struggled with friendships ever since then because I was never at a place long enough for me to create a lifelong lasting or a long lasting friendship. And so I've struggled with friendships from then. My kids love to ask me, who are your friends? Who are your friends? And one of the things that I wanted to change in my 40s was that I wanted to build friendships. I feel like it's never too late to build friendships. I'm actually a dope friend. I'm actually a dope friend. And I just remember that when I was in film school, I used to have people, because guys, as I said, I'm an introvert. I'm not shy, but I am an introvert. I'd have people actually walk up to me because they kind of like my vibe and everything else, and they'd be like, yo, I like you. Sometimes I'd be so scared because it would be girls. I'm like, you like me? But no, they're like, no, we like your vibe. And that's how I would make friends. But because a girl was moving around, those friendships just never really re- never really stuck, and so in my 40s I'm trying to make friendships that will last. I mean, we are in a world where you can have a friend and you don't even see each other, but because of social media, of the way communication is set up these days, you can just build meaningful friendships, and I look, I will go to therapy. And if I have to take my kids to therapy, I will take my kids to therapy, because some things really do need therapy. You need to speak to a professional, because the thing is, these things, they literally like pile up. As I said, by the time I was 20, how old was I? I was 21. I was a mess. I didn't understand what was going on. I was like, what? And it's only, it only, like, the light bulb came to me, like, in probably my 30s. I was like, wow, the reason why I was a mess at 21 is because of all the weird things I went through, like all the all the uncertainty of being here and then moving and then being here and then moving. And it wasn't because we wanted to. Hey, like, once I was at King's School, I was there from like grade 2, as I said, till grade 7. Never moved. Perfect school. But high school, just, I don't know what happened there, man. It was just drama after drama after drama. So yeah, that's it. That's how I uh, ended up doing 5 high schools in my lifetime. Crazy, crazy. 5 high schools. And that left me with a lot of anxiety and depression, um, which, which I went with into my adulthood. And when it came to giving birth, it skyrocketed into into like, what's this, postpartum depression. So can you see that, man? It's like a pattern. So because one didn't heal that thing that happened in the teenage years, it literally bled into everything else. And so if there's something that you could learn from this story, would be heal those little things. Don't be like, yo, bo motivational spotties salani, bo tikidi motivational speakers coming here to just tell us what. No, I'm just heal those little things that happen, even for your kids, even for your siblings. Make sure that they heal. Hey, like even if it doesn't seem that traumatic, there are a whole lot of things that seem like, it's nothing. This girl is passing. I think there's a mistake that I've made with one of my kids who's just like me as well. Where you're like, anyway, she's gonna pass anyway. It hits me right now. It hits me as I'm speaking that we always say, oh, she's gonna pass anyway, because that was me. She passed, and she did, and she ended up getting like a great matric, but messed up at the end. And so I need to fix the she's gonna pass anyway. I'm gonna need to fix she's gonna pass anyway. Thank you so much for joining me. I will catch you in the next episode next week. Bye bye.